Hello and welcome to Snetterton and round 3 of the UK Touring Car Series here at Overtech.gg, where Edward Rocket is in pole position ahead of Dan Rock, Hartmut Schmatzberger in 3rd, Scott Deakin in 4th position, Fulvio Phoenix in 5th, Roy Magnus in 6th, Paddy Breslin in 7th position on the grid, Steve Legale in 8th, and Kreshnik Khalili rounding up the field in 9th position. To start for the first round with an 8-lap race around the Snetterton 300 circuit. And we're off! And that's a great start by Edward Rocket from pole position. And look at Schwarzberger up into 2nd position really from the 3rd on the grid. Excellent start by Schmatzberger. Oh, and Rocket runs wide into the hairpin at Wilson, and here comes Schmatzberger on the inside, neat and tidy, and up into the lead from 3rd position on the grid. That's a brilliant start in the Vauxhall. So there are some shuffling of positions further back. Oh, but Rocket's on the attack into the hairpin. To Agostini, and through he goes back into the lead. Here we are on board with Steve Legale as we're following. Oh, that's Kreshnik Khalili, he hits the tire barriers on the inside and off he goes. Oh, what a big slide for Deakin up ahead in Infinity, but he keeps a hold of it. Oh, or does he? No, he runs wide onto the back straight, and Breslin is a little bit confused by that as well. And that's 2 positions for Steve Legale then. Well, 3 rather in rather quick succession. So lap 2 then. This is Roy Magnus, and he's got a good exit compared to Fulvio Phoenix and through into Agostini. Can he keep the position? Yes, he can. He has a better exit. So up into 4th position then for Roy Magnus then. In the BMW for this time. It's the 3rd different car on 3 from 3 different rounds for Magnus then. Oh, but he runs deep and wide onto the back straight, and here comes Phoenix back, fully on the hybrid boost, and through he goes down the back straight. And up into 4th, and oh, that's a lot of gravel. Oh, Dan Rock is off. So that's up to 3rd position then for Fulvio Phoenix. And here comes Legale through as well. So we're on board with Phoenix then. As Magnus runs wide, Phoenix got a good exit and a little bit of extra help with the hybrid boost. And through he goes up into 4th. And what happens with Rock? He just seems to outbrake himself. Oh, and over the sausage curb. There's nothing you can do then. That's just slipping wide. This is the end of the lap. And Rock is back onto the rear bumper of Steve Legale. Out of Murray's. And through on the boost down into turn 1. Great move by Rock. Runs a little bit wide on the corner exit, but he can hold on. Yes, he can. This is Schmatzberger, round 3, and he's about to do this kind of the same thing as Rock did. And Phoenix goes through up to 2nd position then in the BMW. So runs a little bit wide, touches the gravel, and then our passenger. Oh, and he runs wide again into Murray's. Schmatzberger runs wide into Murray's, and Magnus goes through in the BMW. And now we move ahead another lap to lap 4, and here comes Rock on the boost, exactly the same move as Phoenix did a couple laps ago, and into, well, what is it, 4th position. Here's Paddy Breslin and Steve Legale is fighting now. No, Steve Legale. Kreshnik Khalili. Legale has a different livery for this round. Oh, Khalili holds on around the outside of Breslin. It's not done yet. He's got the wrong side of the road for Agostini, but he's later on the brakes than Paddy is. And through he goes. Now we're following Schmatzberg, and his that corner is a proper enemy for Schmatzberg in this race. He's wide again, and here comes Steve Legale. And Steve threw up into what is 5th position, I think, at the moment. Yes, it is. And up ahead, Dan Rock has made his way straight up onto the rear bumper of Roy Magnus and will go into a move into the hairpin here, into Wilson. And through he goes. Magnus goes a little bit sideways on the exit. That doesn't help. 3rd position then for Dan Rock as we move into the lead of the race. Last lap of the race. Fulvia Phoenix really on the attack on Edward Rocket there. Into Murray's. But can't quite make it. And there we have it. Edward Rocket then wins the race. Ahead of Fulvia Phoenix in 2nd. Dan Rock in 3rd. Roy Magnus in 4th. Steve Legale in 5th. Hartmut Schmatzberger in 6th, Kreshnik Khalili in 7th position, Paddy Breslin in 8th position, and Scott Deakin in 9th position. And so we move on to race 8 of the season, and that's the same. We start in the same order with Rocket ahead of Fulvia Phoenix, Dan Rock, Roy Magnus, Steve Legale, Hartmut Schmatzberger, Kreshnik Khalili, Paddy Breslin, and Scott Deakin. No qualifying for race 2 of the meeting, remember? So, Fulvia Phoenix then in the BMW versus Edward Rocket in the front-wheel drive Honda, and it's a good launch by Phoenix. Is he far enough up the alongside? Yes, he is into the first corner. Can Rocket come back through though on the inside? No, it doesn't look like it. Nope. Phoenix into the lead then from 2nd position on the grid. So we go on board with Scott Deakin. And that is Paddy Breslin out braking himself, hitting the rear end of Kreshnik Khalili's car. Out onto the back straight. A little bit of a gap between the cars at the moment. Looked like Khalili was on the boost there as well. Into the S's, and he hits the bollards. Oh no, the bollards go on the rear wheel of Khalili, and off he goes. I've never seen that before. This is on board with Schmatzberg, and there goes Legale, and there goes also Dan Rock. 2 cars off the road in the last corner. On each side of the road, and through he goes with Schmatzberger. That's 2 positions gained in one corner. Great opportunistic driving. Yep, 4th position then for Schmatzberger at the moment. Here comes Dan Rock on the boost, and he goes through. Oh, that's a late dive into Wilson, but through he goes. A little bit of contact, but nothing really. It's touring cars. Those kind of contacts do happen. And well, with Steve Legale, we're following Paddy Breslin, and Breslin goes wide. Oh, can he? No, he can't save it. Slides across the road into the barrier on the left side. And a bit later on the same lap, this is Legale following Scott Deakin into Murray's last corner of the lap. Oh, and Deakin runs wide in Infinity. No, well, he can't keep it on the road, but here comes Legale on the boost. Much better exit. And yep, he goes through. Yeah, he does. Goes through into first corner. And just up ahead, this is Dan Rock pulling the same move on Roy Magnus as he did on Schmatzberger a couple of laps earlier. And that's Dan Rock up to 3rd position then. following Phoenix, and he runs. Wow! Oh no 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 no! Went onto the grass. Oh, can he stop? No, he can't. Hits the barrier from a clean lead, really, for Fulvio Phoenix. Oh, comes back on the road in second position still, on board with Rocket then. And you can see he just puts the right rear wheel onto the gravel on the outside of the curbing, and then he's then he's lost. And Edward Rocket says thank you very much. That is another win for Rocket then, ahead of Fulvio Phoenix, Dan Rock and Roy Magnus all in a group together over the line. Hartmut Schmatzberger in 5th position in the race, Steve Legale in 6th, Scott Deakin in 7th, Paddy Breslin in 8th, and Kreshnik Khalili did retire after that bollard incident where the bollard went under the rear wheel and just speared the car off the road and into the barriers. Right, for race 3 then, we turn the result list upside down to set the start grid, which means that Kreshnik Khalili starts ahead of Paddy Breslin, Scott Deakin in 3rd position on the grid, and we have Steve Legale in the freshly painted Ford Focus in 4th. 5th position for Hartmut Schmatzberger in the Vauxhall Astra, Opel. Roy Magnus in the BMW in 6th position. 7th for Dan Rock in the BMW. 8th position for Fulvio Phoenix in the last BMW, and Edward Rocket starts in 9th position in the last race of the evening. And away we go. It looks like a brilliant start for both Khalili and for Deakin on the left side of the road there. Yep. Cleanly through, and a big lead already for Scott Kreshnik Khalili then. And Breslin and Schmatzberger. Oh, and look, 3 wide in the mid corner there with Magnus Legale and Rock, and Magnus with a big slide on the corner exit. Drops 2 positions then with both Legale and Dan Rock past. Oh, but he crisscrosses, goes underneath Dan Rock. And goes back through. Oh, Phoenix and Rocket touch in the background, and Phoenix goes through on Dan Rock then. Rock and Rocket in the last 2 positions currently. Are they about to swap? No. Rocket isn't. Edward isn't far enough ahead to be able to dive onto the inside there. Big slide onto the back straight. There we go, and Deakin high up on 2 wheels, and Breslin even higher up on the 2 wheels at the end of the lap. And here comes Schmatzberger and Steve Legale as well. So Schmatzberger is past, but can he hold on to it? And here comes Magnus 2 in the BMW on the out. Oh no, well, tries to crisscross onto the inside of Steve Legale, then down towards Wilson. Breslin very defensive, Magnus out on the outside of Legale. Can he keep all? Oh, it can't. Gets a little bit loose, and that opens up the door for Rocket in the background there. We're following Paddy Breslin. Yeah, no positional changes in the background. Oh, here comes Magnus on Legale again, down into the hairpin. Can make the car stop at least. And he's still on the inside, but is he far enough ahead to... no, backside of it. So, Breslin goes off. Breslin does the exact same thing as Phoenix did in the previous race. And here comes Rock, and Steve Legale goes wide. Well, what is Rocket and Magnus all together then? That was a lot to unpack. Let's go on board with Edward Rocket then. You see Magnus try to go on the inside of Steve Legale. And watch Paddy Breslin ahead of both of them. Because I think he is almost touched the tire stack on the inside. Goes on the gravel on the outside. And Legale outbrakes himself. Magnus is also a bit late on the brakes into the corner. And he tries to hold on the outside. That's a big slide onto the back straight. And Rocket with a much better exit, and on the boost in the draft, down the back straight, into the S's. Yeah, and comfortably through, up to what is 4th position currently. Well, Scott Deakin then has Hartmut Schmatzberger all over the rear end, and looks like Schmatzberger is doing this exact same move as Rocket does, or did, or does in the background actually. Yep, cleanly through into the S's. Then we continue on board with Scott Deakin then towards the end of the lap. And we're still only on lap 2 of the race, and Schmatzberger does the same thing as Legale did in the previous race. Loses the rear end into Murray's and goes to the right and loses, well, that's pretty much everyone in the field and gets through. And again, Scott Deakin then in the Infinity. We're now on lap 3. He runs a little bit wide, but no big deals. But that makes him late on the brakes for the next corner. And this opens up the door for Edward Rocket then. When he runs wide again, does Deakin. Here comes Rocket. Magnus is there in the BMW. Through he goes. Here comes Phoenix in the BMW, and Dan Rock as well. Everybody's lining up to everybody's lining up to jump. Scott Deakin. Phoenix also tried to get past Magnus on the inside, but he couldn't quite into the S's. A big fight again between Magnus and Rocket. And again Magnus finds himself on the outside in the BMW. That's not gonna help. That opens up the door for Fulvio Phoenix then in the other BMW. He can't quite make the move there. However, he gets a better line through the next corner and lines up on the inside down towards Agostini. Yeah, later on the brakes. Well, still not technically done, but he has the inside for next corner as well, does Fulvio, so there we go, that's upper position. On board with Steve Legale now, and we did see Dan Rock go wide up ahead. Oh, and wider goes Scott Deakin, and I'm afraid that's going to cost you another position, Scott. And through goes Legale into Palmer. And here we're with Dan Rock chasing down Roy Magnus, and he does the same thing again as he did in race 1. A little bit deep into the S's, hits the sausage curb off the road on the outside, and that's both Legale and Deakin past. That's 2 positions down then for Dan Rock. Lap 6 now, we're on board with Fulvio Phoenix, following Edward Rocket up into the hairpin at Wilson. Price opened the room on the inside into the hairpin, but Edward holds on the outside, gets a better exit with a little bit of help of the boost, I suppose. And he stays ahead for now at least. But we are now at the point of the race where the front wheel drive cars are struggling with the grip on the front tires, and the BMWs or rear wheel drive cars, if they've been careful enough with their tires and not locking up too much, they will be in a better place. At least when it comes to tire wear. Yeah, look at this. Rocket struggles to hit the apex onto the back straight. Here comes Phoenix in the slipstream with the hybrid boost. Goes to the inside. Rocket doesn't do too much to defend. Oh, but he outbrakes himself. Rocket outbrakes himself, goes straight off the road. Comebacks onto it, but he's not carrying enough speed, and through goes Phoenix, and he has now a lap to catch, or 2 laps rather, sorry, to catch and pass Kreshnik Khalili, and we're going into the last lap, and here we go onto the inside in turn 1 with Fulvio Phoenix. Not quite done yet, but he has the inside into the hairpin at Wilson. Yeah, that's a good move. A little bit later on the brakes, and through Phoenix goes past Khalili then on the last lap of the race. And that is also the way we finish. Fulvio Phoenix wins race number 3 ahead of Kresh Khalili. Edward Rocket in 3rd, Roy Magnus in another 4th position, Steve Legale in 5th, Scott Deakin and Dan Rock along on the line, across the line in 6th and 7th, Hartmut Schmatzberger in 8th position, and in 9th position we have Paddy Breslin in the Hyundai. And that means that the points looks like this. Edward Rocket is in the lead with 164 points, Magnus in 2nd with 126, Schmatzberger in 3rd with 122, Rock in 4th with 112, Phoenix in 5th now with 108, Breslin in 6th with 69, Legale in 7th with 67, Jameson Smith in 8th with 28, Khalili in 9th with 26, Deakin in 10th with 26, and Steve Kenwood in 11th position with 24 points. And that is everything we have in this for this race. Thank you so much for watching, and tune in again next time where we will be heading to Oulton Park. Catch you then!